Lord a praise. Come on, give God a praise. That is why we are here. Hey. Oh, y'all sit down. I've been around here too long for that. Thanks, guys. I feel like I should be doing something up here. I don't know what. Thanks. Y'all take the rest of the day off. Hey, it's good to be back, guys. I was talking with some of the folks earlier. This year is year number 21 that I've been coming here. For 21 years, every year, I have been here. And for those of you that have never heard me, and especially if you're a visitor, how many first-time visitors here? A couple? Okay. Please come back next week. This is a great church. I come once a year because that's really all people can take me. I'm kind of an acquired taste. And so if you're a first-timer, please, Pastor Mike, he's the best. No, really. Come on. You guys know that. Y'all know that. And I usually say some nice stuff, and it's kind of an expected thing, you know, when you're a guest speaker, to kind of brag on the pastor and go through all that rigmarole that guest speakers do. I don't do that. I'm going to be 73 years old in a couple of weeks. Come on. Thank you. Like they have these security guys here that like they're supposed to watch out for me. Say, bro, come on. I've been shot twice. I've been stabbed 5 times. I've been in 3 plane crashes. I took a .308 round in the back a couple of years ago in Syria. Had my bulletproof vest. It's the only thing that saved me. Got busted up. So you know what? I appreciate the security, but you know what I'm saying? If I haven't got this thing figured out by now, I shouldn't even be here. I shouldn't even be out of town. So it's just, I don't do the normal guest speaker thing. Not just because I'm here, because I know you guys and you know me, which makes it so much easier. But you know, I travel every week. Like, that's what keeps the ministry in New York. And Pastor Mike told you that I'm going to talk to you a little bit about this Afghanistan mess that I'm in right now. But when you're around people, like I've been with you guys for 20 years, I was preaching here before some of you were born. What's up with that? So I know this church better than some of you do. So I'm going to be doing 2 different messages today, like I usually do, because I've always got a lot to say, just because of the nature of what I do. Usually at my age, preachers are kind of retiring, or they're talking about what they used to do. You know, I still do this. Like, I'm going to meet Pastor Mike afterwards for lunch. Then I'm catching the flight tonight to get back home, working on the Afghanistan thing more, then doing the all-night flight tomorrow night to go to Africa. We've been invited by 2 countries, South Sudan and Botswana, by the government to start Metro Sunday School there. So I'm going to do the all-nighter to Africa. So it's just a lot going on. And for those of you that don't know me, be nice to me at the back table. Only because, and you would think at 73, I would have better sense than this, but apparently I don't. So I'm in a Publix grocery store in Jacksonville, Florida. This is just a couple months ago, all right? Just minding my own business, because when I get out, I try not to engage much. Like when I go to the airport, I just have my license, and if somebody gets into it, I just act like I don't hear them. Because I know if you engage, like yesterday, because I flew into D.C. So I'm at LaGuardia leaving yesterday, and you know, you show your ID when you're coming in to the terminal. God, that's standard. Been doing that for 50 years. Okay, so at the gate to go to the DC flight, There's 5 TSA agents. They want to see my ID. I didn't know if it was me or if it was just a general request. So I got to ask questions because I didn't want to engage, but I was kind of angry. But that's another story. We'll talk about that in the next service. Anyways, back to Jacksonville. So, they don't give you food on the plane anymore. They're just so stinking cheap now. So, at least in the old days, you got something. Wasn't good, but you got a little something. Okay? Now you get nothing. So I go to the store and I buy these little boxes of sun-made raisins, right? So I have 1 box for breakfast, 1 box for lunch, and 1 box for dinner. That's why I look like this. It's this diet of raisins for like 15 months. I've been eating those stupid raisins. But they taste pretty good. So I'm out of raisins. So I'm in this Publix. And again, don't want to engage. I'm just looking for raisins. Aisle 4. Got it. So I'm looking. Well, I walk by this old couple. And you know how us old people are. As we get older, we talk louder. Because we can't hear ourselves, so we don't think anybody else can. So you just start yelling when you get old. It's quite funny. I laugh at myself. So I walk by this old couple, and she's just going, "That Joe Biden, I don't like him." And I don't even look. I don't engage. I'm looking for raisins. That's my deal. Well, her husband goes, "Oh, honey, just be quiet." Well, then some other guy, it looked like he was maybe in his 50s, starts cursing out the lady because of what she said. Well, then her husband, I'm just looking for raisins. I'm not looking back. I know what's coming, and I'm trying not to get involved. So I just keep walking. So this other guy's cursing her out. So the husband, he's going to defend his wife. Well, this other guy, the 50-year-old guy, 2-hand chest, boom, hits the old guy, knocks him down. He hits his head. He's out. I'm thinking, all right, now I got to engage. Here we go. So I just walk back there, and I bent down. I mean, he's out. He's out cold. So somebody called 911. So I'm down like this, right? Well, the guy's still standing here. So I look at him and I go, "Really?" He goes, "Oh, you want some?" I thought, yeah, maybe I do. In Jesus' name. So we had a little knockdown, drag out. And, I can't go 10 rounds anymore. I can't go 2 rounds. But I got 3 moves. And if they don't go down in the 3 moves, I'm running. I'm out. Okay? Because I can't, at this age, I can't struggle like I used to. Okay? So then I would need you security people. But I got it done. But by then the cops are showing up. Now I'm surprised y'all didn't see it online. Because by then, somebody's filming it. And I'm thinking, okay, this is just what I need. All right? So then the lady, does this sound all right? Yo, is this okay? Can y'all hear me all right out there? All right, I'm yelling now. It's that old thing. It's kicking in. And turn me down just a notch. Sounds too loud to me. That's a switch. And so we end up, and I never got the raisins. I never did. I went to the airport without the stupid raisins. But then the lady, I don't know who she is. "We have a problem on aisle 4. That would be me, as usual. So anyways, I said all that to say I'm still a little traumatized. Oh, and besides that, I forgot about this. Besides being traumatized by that in Jacksonville, I was in Fresno 2 weeks ago, okay, downtown. Have you ever been to Fresno? It's a dump, okay? It's just a dump. The downtown's a dump, okay? It's kind of like downtown Baltimore, okay? I don't mean no disrespect. I'm just saying. So I'm downtown, no food in the hotel. There's no food unless you really focus on getting food. The hotels, the planes, nobody has food. So I'm looking, and there's this little restaurant. It's right on the corner from the hotel, called the Chicken Shack. Now that name by itself should pretty much indicate of how this is going to go. The Chicken Shack. So I'm there, get a hamburger. The chicken looked really bad, so I'm just eating the burger. And you guys have been in some, when you're in somewhere and something doesn't feel right, it just feels like back home in Brooklyn. And I've lived there long enough. I know how this feels. Going, I need to eat this burger and just get on down the road. Because some doesn't feel right here. So I'm eating the burger. And there's all kinds of people outside, just wandering out. And I'm trying not to, but I'm watching. And then a woman, all she's got on is her underwear and bra. Oh, no, this gets better. When you think it can't, it does. She runs in the Chicken Shack and screams. She's screaming. Just in her underwear. And what disturbed me most is that nobody else in the restaurant even notices. I'm the only one that's looking up. Then I look around and I put my head back down. And then the guy behind the counter, he just says, she's a regular. Oh, perfect. No, this is my life, folks. This is my life. For 50 years, it's Chicken Shacks. I mean, you guys, some of you need to go with me on some of these places I go, because it's quite entertaining. I said all that to say, be nice to me at the back table, okay? Please, give me a break today. No stupid people at the back. No goofy, okay? I'm 73, all right? A life sentence is not a deterrent for me, just so you know that. I'm just telling you up front. Just so you know, anything can happen. All right, where's my table? I didn't get to bring much stuff with me. I apologize. But so I said, I'm running straight home. And then, are you doing this the whole time? Okay, I'm just checking. It's the Chicken Shack. It's just in my head. I can't get rid of it. All right. Hey, I brought a bunch of these because we ran out last year. These are the bracelets and necklaces that, I guess I better go here. Can we get a close-up? Yeah, there we go. These are the bracelets and necklaces that our ladies that live in the garbage dump in the Philippines, they make them, they cut magazines up, wet them, roll them up, put it's kind of a hardening thing, I don't know what they call it, and then they put them together, and then they sell them on the street. I saw them doing this a couple of years ago. You guys have heard me talk about it before. And I thought, I'm going to bring them to the States. I'll take them on the road. And so out of this, the last couple of years, those ladies, because of this stuff and me taking them out, they've been able to get their kids in school. They've been able to feed their family. It's a pretty cool thing. It's pretty cool. So there's no set price on these. It's whatever y'all want to give. And I got a bunch of them I threw them in my bag. I've only got a couple of the Elephants of Relevance book. That was my last one. It's the hardback. So it's a dual purpose book. Exactly. See, this is how my mind works. It's so sad. But even when I write books, it's like it's a weapon, okay? So what else? I got this. For those of you guys that have not sponsored kids, one of the folks already asked me this morning if they could sponsor another kid. Of course, you'll have a chance to sponsor kids. I've only got a few of them, so it's kind of first come, first serve. But it's a $33 a month commitment. You can be as involved in your sponsored child as you want. And you guys know I take about 30 or 40 people with me every March to the Philippines. When I go, if any of you guys ever want to go, you think I'm joking. If you ever want to go on some of these things, you let me know. I take people, just not young people, not like millennials, because they're like, I can't. I got enough problems. Sorry, young people. I love you, but you know how y'all are. Okay. But if you're serious about something, people go with me to be, you know what I found? Okay, enough of that. Hang on. Okay, here's the deal. Here's what I've found. Do you know who is the most productive demographic in American Christianity today? Single women in their 50s. Yeah, you need to get that. That was pretty good. Now, why is that? Now, that's not me making this up. That's stats, folks. You know why? Because they're either what? They either never been married, maybe widowed, divorced. If they had kids, their kids are grown by that time. So they are now able to go and do something that maybe the Lord dropped in their spirit when they were young, years ago, for ministry, for missions. But then life happened, and y'all know, if you're older, you know how it goes. You make decisions in your 20, and you go, things that make you go, exactly. You know those songs better than you know these church songs, don't you? And so now we're at a place where we are able to take folks, go with me, train people to go and start Metro in a foreign country. And it's really a neat thing. So if any of you ever want to go, give me your name and number out there. I'll call you. I'll tell you. I got Philippines next, right? It's been crazy with the COVID thing, but I'm hoping by March we'll have it. All right, so we've got sponsorship, we've got the books, the bracelets, voila, we're good. All right, and I'm doing pretty good on time. And if you're wondering about the sponsorship, and I do this every year, you guys know in the course of a year, I'm always involved in something, whether it's in Brooklyn or whether it's in a foreign country. But we were able, I talked to you last year about a girl that we had found, but we couldn't do anything about it. She was in Sunday school in Manila. Matt, give me that first picture, if you will. I'm gonna see what he's got here. Yeah, there we go. So we would just get done with Sunday school, and we found this little girl, Sophia. Give me the next one, Matt. Somebody yelled at me and he said, Pastor Bill, you need to see this. And you see, there's something not right there. Through a botched operation, a piece of her intestines, the stitches split, a piece of her intestines came out, and she was walking around like this for like almost a year, guys. This last year, since I've seen you last, give me the next shot, Matt. So I had a visitor with me on this when we found Sophia, and he's looking at what you and I were just looking at. He's looking at that picture. We're all seeing it. Because every morning, the mother would take like a little plastic bag, put her intestines in that bag, wrap that thing up with a diaper so it didn't get, wrecked or chopped up or something. So we're looking at Sophia, and the visitor's from West Virginia, great guy, great supporter of the ministry for years. And he goes, Pastor Bill, I want to sponsor her. I want to make this happen. Well, then COVID hit, and here we go. We all know nobody has to understand that because we all do. So what he did, he started raising money all of this past year. Did a little thing, and this may give some of you an idea, because it's a pretty cool idea. He did a little campaign called Bake a Difference. It's pretty neat. He had some of the ladies making pies, cookies, cupcakes. Anyways, long story short, we were able to, several months ago, finally get her in the hospital. Give me another one, Matt. And we got the operation done. It was a very difficult operation. Yeah, I knew. It was about a 7.5-hour run because they had to open her up. And you remember a couple of years ago, the little girl with the hole in her side, Cherry Ann, because she was born without an anus. So they had to open her up, and totally the whole lower GI tract had to be opened up and reconstructed. It's almost the same thing with Sophia. So we get her to the hospital, goes through the operation, and that was It wasn't an American operation deal, but that was just after she got stitched up. Give me the one, Matt, the next one. We got the stitches out, looking a little bit better. But then they sent me a picture a couple weeks ago, and they got her in the truck, got her back to her home where she lives. And I think we got one more shot. Matt, yeah, there she is. Yeah, come on, give God a praise. Give God a praise. So I want you guys to see this stuff. And I know some of this is hard to look at, but it's important for you guys to know that I am your missionary. I represent this church all over the world, all over the world. There's only one part of the world I haven't been to, and that's Antarctica. I'm going there next year to minister to the penguins. It's kind of like a lot of churches that I've been to for so many reasons. But I need you guys to understand that when you see these pictures on the back table, when you hear me or you get the newsletter and you go, this is what I do, folks. We preach the gospel, we get kids saved, we minister to families. That's why I'm getting my medical degree. I got the PhD, which was totally useless. So I thought, okay, because remember I told you the story that I delivered the baby in the truck stop in Amarillo? Okay. I'm not going to go through that again. So if you're pregnant here today, I'm really hoping that you're like not due today, because when I looked in that car and I could see the head of the baby, and remember I rolled up my sleeves. I had no idea why I did that or what I thought I was going to do. It's funny what we do, isn't it? But we delivered the baby, and y'all remember that story from last year. That was the impetus for me to get this medical degree. So there's a lot going on, and that's why when I come here, I like to just, because I feel like I'm part of this church. I feel like I know you guys, you know me. I love your pastor. He is one of two preachers that all the times I've been in the hospital, because, you know, everybody loves Pastor Bill. Nobody just wants to come see me in the hospital. There's been two pastors that have ever visited me. Your pastor is one of them. You need to thank God for your pastors. They're great people, and they're my friends. And so it's just an honor for me, honestly, guys, to be here with you guys every year. I usually come about this time of year. So thank you for praying for me. Thank you for supporting the kids. Thank you for just always making me feel welcome. Because a lot of, I appreciate it. Because a lot of churches, you know, you're just some other dumb preacher. You're just some next guest speaker. All right, here's another one. Yeah, what's up? And you just wanna. But when I come here, it's just nice. It's a good thing for me. It helps me. So it may not help you much, but it really helps me. And I appreciate it. I appreciate it. All right. Good, we're on time. Like I said, I'm doing two different messages. I'm going to take you down a different path in the next service. But, you know, yesterday being 9/11, and 20 years, right? Our team watched the towers from the roof of our building there in Brooklyn, watched them go down. We worked for 6 months. We did 3 shifts. I did second shift at Ground Zero, bringing food and just counseling, talking with the firemen. We did first shift at JFK, the acquisitions hangar, where the food and water, you guys remember, was being flown in from all over the world. Our guys were there helping to get it out of the planes, box it up. And we did a third shift at Staten Island. It was a couple weeks into it, because if you remember, they were taking the ruins, they put them on barges, took them around and dumped them in the landfill in Staten Island, but they put them on conveyor belts. And they had government people and just forensic people going through every part of that. Maybe you didn't know that. But they were looking for just body parts, bone, teeth fragments for DNA. And our guys were there in counseling. So yesterday was kind of it was a different day for those of us that were there and were around that for that whole time. And yet, after 20 years, I was listening early this morning on the news, is that a lot of people, a lot of younger folks, that was before some of you guys were born. I hope all of you understand what happened 20 years ago. If you don't, you need to. It's important. And we say we never forget, and yet, a lot of people have forgotten. They've forgotten the implications of that. It brings me now to Afghanistan. I've been to Kabul a couple times. Last time I was there was in 2019 when we started Metro Sunday School in Kabul. On that trip, I was jerked out of the car 4 times, slammed against the car, only because I was American, wanted to know what I was doing there. So I know, on a good day, Kabul was never good. And now, of course, with this other thing, and now with our military guys being withdrawn. So we had 7 full-time people doing Metro Sunday School, but they weren't Americans. They were Afghans. So they didn't have, obviously, a green card. They weren't Americans. They didn't have the SIV visas. They weren't interpreters for the U.S. military or drivers. They're just Christians. And just so you all know, it's always the Christians that end up at the bottom of the barrel. And I can't tell you how much that angers me. You know how this goes. They're just Christians. They were trying to get out. We tried to get them out. We had a couple of contacts through the State Department. Couldn't do it. There's still Americans left over there. And I know 2 of them. So, I said all that to say that now, one of our guys, our main leader there, he was number 6 on the Taliban's list. Okay, we got to get him out because, you know, at 12 years old there, that's marrying age for girls. So he's got a 15-year-old daughter. So he knows the urgency. I know the urgency. Long story short, and I can't tell you the exact route, but 4 days ago, we got our first family out, got them into another country, husband, wife, their 3 kids, and right now, while I'm talking to you guys, our second group has made its way, because we had to do the land route, because the airport's, that's done, that's out. So we did the land route. They have now arrived at a border of another country, and it's our next group that we're getting ready to bring out. So it's been a pretty crazy couple of weeks since this whole mess has kind of started. I will use this word with you. I usually wouldn't use this on a Sunday, but I'll use it here. I have been hustling hard to try to get support because you guys know, and this is going to sound crazy, as difficult as it has been to get them out of country, and will continue probably for the next week or so, the heavy lifting is next. Because now we got to get them to the capital of that country. We got to get visas. We got to then get them on planes. We got to relocate them. We've got 2 countries, maybe UK, maybe Uganda, that will take them. But all of this takes money, folks. That was not in our budget at Metro. It wasn't. And so that's what Pastor was talking about. At the end of the service, that's what y'all going to give an offering to, is to try, once we get them out, then the hard work begins. So we'll talk about that more later. But I was watching, there were several specials, and you guys probably saw some of them on TV, of what happened there 20 years ago in downtown Brooklyn, downtown New York. And yet, how can people forget that? That's my question to you. Because you know, most of my messages, I don't plan it that way, it just kind of works for me, is that somebody asks a question or there seems to be an issue, and then I try to answer the question. And so I've come to the conclusion that memory is a very strange thing. Looking back 20 years, people that we were very unified as a country on September 12th, 20 years ago. This day, September 12th, this country was unified. And yet 20 years later, I don't know if this country has been ever more divided than what it is today. How does that happen, guys? How does that work? Do we have what psychiatrists call a selective memory? I get it, and I understand the term. Is it that we can pick and choose what we remember? Maybe. I don't know. I mean, I've talked to women that after they got done having their baby, I'm never going to do that again. It was so painful, and yet they have 2 more. Okay? I thought you said, as you were screaming, I'm not going to do this. And she's yelling at her husband, I hate you. Okay, whatever. Okay. But then a couple years later, they have another kid, Okay, so do we get to pick and choose what we remember? I don't know. So I started doing some thinking these last couple of days, knowing that we were coming up to 9/11. And I remember, I don't talk about kind of my childhood anymore here because most of you know it. You've heard me talk about it over the years. Yeah, my mother left me. Yeah, she was alcoholic. My sister was a prostitute. Yeah. See, I have every reason to play the victim card. I can play it. I don't even have an excuse. I have real life reasons why I should have been an alcoholic, but I don't. I haven't. I never have. Why? Because as the Apostle Paul said, everything that happened to him, he said he used it for the furtherance of the gospel. So for all of us, we've all got stuff. You got a couple of years on you here. We've all been through things. And we'll be through a few more things. Okay? It's like life will shut your mouth. It will. It was a book by this young couple in their early 20s. I thought, you've lost your mind. They wrote this book on how to raise godly teenagers. I just gave it the dog look, And I thought, wait a minute. You don't have teenagers, you idiots. Why are you writing a book? They're going to use those books for toilet paper. Ain't nobody going to read those books. Nobody even going to buy it. Why? Because they don't know what they're talking about. You raise a few teenagers, and if you don't kill them in the process, then maybe you're qualified to write a book. Exactly. But not when you're just having little tiny kids. So how does this work? I remember, we were down by the East River because we used visitors all the time. They'll ride the bus that I drive and see the Sunday school. And it was right by the place where I got shot the first time, when I got shot in the face. So I'm with the visitors, right, down at the East River. And we see what looks like a body laying in the river. It looked like a body because it was. And its head was cut off, its hands were cut off. They do that, and I'm going to talk more about the reasoning of that in the next service, because I'm kind of walking that message in there. But I still have those visitors that were with me that night. They will still, every once in a while, and this was like over 20 years ago. And they'll say, Pastor Bill, I remember the night. Okay. Yeah, I do too. So is it, what's the word I want to use? Is it the intensity of a moment? Having a baby's pretty intense. And yet, women just keep doing it. When I broke my hip here, I know pain, folks. Okay, I've been shot twice. All right? All these plane crashes, all this stuff. And I've worked with Christians for 50 years. I understand pain. Okay? Not you guys. I love you. Pache. Okay, I get you guys. When I broke my hip, let me tell you something. I have never had pain. Like when I went into rehab, so I got a titanium rod from here to here. Okay? I've got plastic in my head, plastic on my face. Like I can't feel anything here. Okay, so that's why I can't stand in the sun long, because if I do, I just melt. So I mean, I could fall apart right here. And if I do, just pick up the pieces. Call 911. Okay, they'll have to put me back together. I get pain, but I have never had pain like this sucker right here. It's because I'm sitting in second day after the op. I'm in the wheelchair, and they give you like a some kind of like a rubber ball. So the guy had the same operation next to me, was from Connecticut. So we're sitting there getting ready to do the rehab, and the first thing they ask you to do, now we're just sitting, you have to move the ball like this. You can't even do that. I'm screaming like a little girl, just crying, just because the pain was so bad. And the guy from Connecticut, he looks at the doctor, he goes, I'm not doing this. No, that's what he said. I'm sitting here. I'm not doing this. Doctor said, let me tell you something. If you don't do this, you'll never walk again. The guy says, the pain, I'll never forget this, guys. See, again, you know what you remember? You remember stuff, don't you? Think for a minute about stuff that y'all remember. And maybe about stuff you wish you didn't remember. I get that too. So the doctor says, you won't walk again. He said, I can't stand the pain. He wheels himself out, calls his sister in Hartford. She comes, well, now I'm sitting, and the doctor looks at me. He says, all right, Reverend Wilson. He said, what would you like to do? I want to walk. I want to walk. And I went through the most horrendous time of rehabilitation. But I can walk. I can walk now. I mean, I walk a little slower. But I remember that pain. That's why I'm telling you about it now. I remember it. I get it. So, what is this thing about memory? We had a group of youth that came up to New York. It was a tough week. It was one of those crazy weeks in New York City. And they were on the bus with me, some of them were, and we saw a dead guy. We were picking up the kids. We saw a dead guy on Jefferson Street with a knife in his chest, okay? So we were picking up the kids, getting them down the street because the cops had the street blocked off. So we had to walk down, get the kids, walk them back. And we're walking past the car with the dead guy. And the kids are just looking. We're just taking them to Sunday school. And so it was just that kind of craziness for a week. And they were leaving to go back. I think they were from Texas. And the youth pastor, he's traumatized. He'd never seen nothing like this. And he goes, Pastor Bill, he said, with all the stuff we've seen and heard, he said, what do we need to remember? His exact words. And I was tired. I was getting ready. It was Saturday night. I'd driven the bus. I'm heading out to preach somewhere. And I was kind of frustrated. I said, just remember Luke 17:32. And I got in the cab and went to LaGuardia. Luke 17:32. Why did I say that? Let me read it for you. It's 3 words, almost equivalent to the shortest verse in the Bible when it says Jesus wept. Luke 17:32 says what? Remember Lot's wife. Why did I say that? You're going to find out in a minute. All right? Let me throw this at you and see if this makes sense. I stumbled upon this truth by accident, and then I kind of built a message around it, and I'm hoping it will encourage you on September 12th. Hope it'll encourage you for a long time. Luke 17:32. Jesus is speaking here, and he's kind of talking about his second coming. And it's this dissertation that he's giving. And it looks like out of the blue, he goes, yeah, and remember Lot's wife. And then he goes on. Now, obviously, that was in there for a specific reason, or he wouldn't have said it. So, who was Lot's wife? We don't know. We don't know her name. To me, it would have made more sense, particularly in this context of Jesus, to say, remember Moses, remember David, remember Abraham, remember somebody that we at least know who they are. But he does not. He says, remember Lot's wife. Everybody thinks they know this story. I've had Bible school professors come up because they've heard me preach this on television. And they said, we heard you talk about that. They said, we never knew that. Why is that? Because you didn't study it. There is an underlying truth here, guys, that if you can get this today, should I say it this way or not? Oh, yeah. Okay. Thank you. That's all I needed. Thank you. It doesn't take much. It doesn't take much encouragement from me. This is one, guys, and I don't say this often, and those of you that know me, I don't say this. This one could save your life. It really could. And that's not the hook, try to get you to wake up and listen, but it really could. So watch this. Watch how this plays. So this whole thing in Luke, as I said, it's Jesus speaking about something that seems totally unrelated. So we go back to Lot's wife. So let's go back to Lot. Now, if I say something here that makes sense, we're not going to have time to do it in this one. But go home, read Genesis 19. It'll give you the backstory, which will help you. It'll help put this in context. So you got Abraham and Lot. Let me give you a little quick intro. Abraham and Lot. So they're on a journey. They have a little falling out. You know how relatives are. Has a falling out. So they go their separate ways. So Lot, the Bible says, this all, reading at Genesis 18:19, this will all pull it together for you. And Lot pitches his tent toward Sodom. This is where he ends up, in the well-watered plains of Sodom. Abraham goes one way, Lot goes this way. Lot is pitching his tent. Now, I don't know much about tents. I've not been camping. I don't like camping. I don't understand camping. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But, some people like it, and that's good. I went camping once. We used to have a, what did they call that thing? The denomination I was a part of had a young men's thing. It was kind of like Boy Scouts. They called it Royal Rangers. Royal Rangers. So we're going to do a camping trip. This is the first time. Because I got saved, the man picked me up off the street where my mother left me when I was 12. Lived in the church. So I guess I must have been late 13, early 14. So we're going on a camping trip. Okay. So we go camping. Okay. There's 15 boys and only 2 leaders. Now, I didn't think of it then. Now, as a leader, I'm thinking, wow, that's a recipe for disaster. What? That's what they did. So we got to make the tent. What do they call those? The little tents? Pup tents, not poop tents. Sometimes they were. But these little pup tents. Right? So, but we've got 15 guys, and we've only got 3 pup tents. Oh no, this gets worse. This is the chicken shack before there was a chicken shack. Okay? So here we are. We're crammed in there. And they were little pup tents. Once we were all in there, the leaders would zip it up. Okay? Perfect. Now, we're all city kids. Nobody knows what's going on. And even in New York, at night, it's never dark. Like it's not dark. Like dark. Like places where you've been where like dark. It's never dark. Even downtown here, it doesn't get dark. So, but out there, where we were, no, it was dark. And these are a bunch of city kids. So we're supposed to be sleeping, and we're just, well, I don't know what happened. But one of the kids in my tent, he's a smart aleck. So he yells in the middle of the night, "Skunk!" We don't know what a skunk is, but it doesn't sound good. So everybody, we jump up, but we're zipped in. So we're trying to get out. We're screaming, like again, a bunch of little girls screaming. So one of the leaders comes over. He's got like this Rambo knife. He can't get it unzipped, so he's going to cut the tent. He goes to cut the tent and sticks one of the boys in the tent right in the butt with his knife. The kid thinks it's the skunk. A skunk! He's grabbing his butt. It's a disaster. This is my church life, folks. This is my church life. Don't wonder why I'm like this. Okay? I've lived in church all my life. That's why I'm like this. I made a promise to God that night. I said, "God, if you get me out of this, I will never go camping again." And I never have. Now, I say that only to say, I know, I'm sorry, I apologize. But he was pitching his tent towards Sodom. Now, what does that mean? That means, I learned this, that was the opening. That was the tent opening. So, now see if this makes sense to you guys. So, every day when Lot woke up, what was he looking at? He's looking at Sodom. During the day, he's hanging out in the tent. He's looking at Sodom. Last thing he saw before he went to bed, you know what I'm saying? He's looking, staring. See, 83% of everything we learn comes through our eyes. Mm-hmm. Yep. And if you think of the things you've learned in that process of learning, some of you don't believe that. You're giving me the dog look. All right. Put your fingers like this. Everybody, put your fingers like this. Don't sit there and look at me. Do it. Okay? Now, put them right here on your chin. I said your chin. You didn't do what I said. You did what you saw me do. Some of you are still going, what? What did he say? Pay attention. My God, pay attention. You didn't do what I said. You saw me do this. Lot every day is looking at Sodom, staring at it, absorbing it, taking it in. Don't miss this, guys. Follow me. Okay. He looked at that place too long. God help us. He looked. Man, I wish I had something to throw. I'd throw something at you so quick. He looked every day for this period of time. And I say that only to say, be careful what you look at. Oh, you got that one. You got that one, didn't you? Even the cheap seats got that one. Mm-hmm. He looked way too long. Why do I say that? Because the next thing we see, he's moved in there. He's looking, and then he moves in. He knew what was there. He saw it. He knew the reputation. It was not something that was a surprise. You look at something long enough, my friends, and you will get sucked in to that thing. Whether it's in real life, whether it's on a computer. Oh, you ain't saying nothing now. Yeah. For some of you young men and some of you older men. And a hush comes across the audience. Pay attention. You look at something long enough, pal, and that thing will suck you in. It'll draw you in. It will draw you in. 83%. And he's absorbing it, looking at it. He looked at the place too long. Now he's living there. He's raising children there. What do you want me to say, folks? The whole thing now has shifted from an observation to an involvement. And now he's in it. And he stayed too long. See, the first thing was he looked at it too long. He looked at that place, and now he stayed in that place way too long. And he stayed too long. And the angel comes. You know the story. If you don't, you should. The angel comes. It's time to get out of here. And they're going back and forth. So what happens? I'm shortening this up a bit. That's why I told you, go back this afternoon in Genesis 18, 19, if you're interested. And I think it'll bring a lot of kind of cement to this thing. So angel comes and says, y'all got to get out of here. This thing's going to blow. God's going to destroy it. So they go. You know the story, or you think you know the story. Hence, remember Lot's wife. Here's why Jesus said this. So Abraham gets the kids, or Lot gets the kids. He gets the wife, and here they go. Now, this is where most preachers miss it. Because you've all heard the story. You know, they're running out of Sodom, and fire and brimstone is coming. And it was at the city limits of Sodom that Lot's wife did what? Turn around. Oh, you know the story. No, you don't. You really don't. I apologize, but you don't. Because you've heard it said, they're running out of the city, gonna get out. And at the city limits of Sodom, Lot's wife turns around, turns into a salt shaker, and nobody lived happily ever after. She's a statue of salt, boom, except the problem is, that's not what happened. Shh. Yeah, read it for yourself. Read it for yourself. Because it says there in that 19th chapter, there in Genesis, it's all there, folks. Read it. I wish we had time. We could talk about this for a couple hours. See, Lot made it to the next place. What was the next place? They were going to a town by the name of Zoar. Z-O-A-R. It's all in there. You just got to read it. You got to study it. You got to be that workman that shows themselves approved. You got to study it. Lot makes it to Zoar. And I get out my little Bible geographical map. Zoar was about 20 miles away from Sodom. About, what do you think, days walk maybe? 2 days, a couple days. Lot makes it to Zoar. The kids make it to Zoar. And it's very clear. The wife gets to the edge of Zoar. It says she's behind Lot. He's in the city. Kids are in the city. She's right there, about ready, God help us, to step in to the city herself. And it was there at the city limits of Zoar, not the city limits of Sodom, she turned around and turned into a pillar of salt. Why is that important today? I'll tell you exactly why it is. Because she almost made it. Yeah, my God. She almost made it to Zoar. But let me just remind you, almost ain't good enough, folks. It never has been, and it never will be. It's not good enough. It's not good enough. 1,000 preachers every month still quit the ministry. 1,000. 1,000. You better let that's not lead pastors, but that is licensed or ordained preachers. Fold up the Bible, walk away. Why is that? You tell me. Some of them almost made it. Almost. And so you have a woman that almost was saved, almost fulfilled a destiny, almost remained part of a family. But at the see, Lot and the kids left Sodom, but she never did. She never did. They were in that place so long. Have you ever been around something so long? Have you ever had a habit plague you for so long? I live with drug addicts, folks. That's where I live, in Brooklyn. And I've watched them. They're jonesing for something so bad, and they go to rehab, they go to Teen Challenge, and then they're out. Then they go back, and that thing has got them by the throat. And if you've ever been around an addict or someone that's addicted to something, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That city of Sodom and the debauchery and the stuff that was there had a grip on that woman. And she left, but she never really left, did she? She never really left. That thing had a hold on her. So I tell you this, and we got to get out of here. I will tell you this. I don't know what these past months of COVID has done to you. It's been a time of, I can only explain it as a time of uncertainty. I don't know what else to say. You know, it's on, it's off, it's up, it's down. 1 mask, 2 masks, 3 masks. I don't know. I mean, I got my stupid mask. I got to wear this home. I usually don't wear a suit on the plane, but I got my mask, and I'm just, I can't even breathe that stupid thing on. And it just irritates the fire out of me. But it's a mandate. You mandate this, okay? And I'm sorry. I'm trying to be nice, but I'm getting hungry now. I didn't eat anything. So here's the deal, folks. Here's the deal. Why did Jesus say, remember Lot's wife? He could have said, remember Moses. Would have made sense. Could have said, remember Joshua. That would have made sense. He tells us to remember a woman we don't even know her name. But if you ever remember anything, my friends, you better remember what I just said today. You better get this. In Jesus' name, you better get this. He looked too long. He stayed too long. And she never left. She thought she left, but there was something that had a hold on her. I don't know what you guys have dealt with. I know what I've dealt with. And we're still dealing with it. And I'm not dealing with this Afghanistan mess and all this. But I'm challenging you. If there is something in your life that you feel like, man, that thing needs to go. That thing needs to go. My good friend R.T. Kendall was talking to us in New York the other night. He said, is everything that you're doing pleasing to God? But now don't miss the profundity of that in its simplicity. Because if anything we're doing is not pleasing to God, why are you doing it? Seems like a valid question to me. Seems valid. So maybe you need to ask yourself, is everything that's in your life, is everything that you're involved in, is it pleasing to God? Maybe there's some things in there that need to go. Don't know, but you better. Father, I love you. I thank you. And I thank you, Lord, because when we look at truth, sometimes truth has become obscured in your word because people hear a story or an analogy one way and then it just becomes repeated. But the truth here is she did not turn into a pillar of salt. At the city limits of Sodom, she turned into a pillar of salt. At the city limits of Zoar, she almost made it. I hope no one here is ever weighed in the balance and found wanting. And almost make the right decision. Almost. Ain't good enough, folks. Never has been. So, Father, I pray for my friends. And Lord, even through this truth today, that they'll chew on it this afternoon and in these weeks to come. Speak to us, Lord, as only you can. Speak to us, Lord. Oh, the blood of Jesus washes me. Oh, the blood of Jesus shed for me. And what a sacrifice that saved my life. Yes, the blood, it is my victory. Don't miss it, guys. Don't miss it. Stand to your feet. Stand to your feet. At the gates of Zoar. That could have been the title of the message. You can title this message any title you want, but you better get the truth. Don't miss it, folks. Don't miss it. That saved my life. Yes, the blood, it is my victory.